Well, the global automotive industry is changing at a rapid pace. Cars are becoming more connected, more electrified, and in some cases, suspiciously more like a computer than an internal combustion engine. I still remember the good old days when you could lift the bonnet and see where the carburetor was. No more. And while South Africa may still be debating the pace of electric vehicle adoption, the aftermarket, the workshops and dealerships and technicians that keep the country moving don't have the luxury of waiting. So the question isn't about whether we are shifting. We're definitely seeing a shift. I think the question is whether the skills pipeline that we have is changing fast enough to adapt with that shift. I'm Michael Avery, and this is Business Talk, and today we're going to ask whether South Africa's automotive workforce is prepared for the garage of the future. That's with Louis van Huyssteen, National Training Director of the RMI. Louis, welcome. There's often a tendency in South Africa to treat EVs as some kind of distant future problem. From where you sit, just how urgent is this technological transition for the automotive aftermarket?
Michael, thank you so much. And what a great question to open up our discussion today. The mistake we often make is thinking just because the adoption of electric vehicles is relatively slow in South Africa, we need to wait for that momentum to grow. But that is the worst thing we can do. We can already see that the trend is changing, particularly in the move to hybrids. And the big question is, what is going to happen when those vehicles are out of warranty in a couple of years' time and end up in our independent workshops? Are we going to be equipped to service them? Even now, if they are in an accident, can our motor body repairers safely repair them? The training cannot wait for mass electric vehicle adoption before we start preparing. If we look at the statistics, fully electric vehicles often attract the headlines, but the real transition entering the automotive retail aftermarket is broader. Traditional hybrids, plug-in hybrids, and fully electric vehicles are already entering workshops, vehicle dealerships, and repair environments, and our technicians urgently are learning new skills, not only in diagnostics, but in safety and general servicing and repairs. So for the RMI, the message is clear. We have to get ahead of the curve, and that means preparation must start now.
Yeah, and I think a key point you make is that the transition, it might be gradual, but it is already happening through hybrids. I certainly know a lot of people who've recently purchased hybrid vehicles, even if full kind of battery EV adoption is still relatively low. So what changes are workshops and dealerships already starting to experience on the ground then with the rise of hybrids?
Yes, Michael, the biggest change is complexity. Vehicle dealers, together with the original equipment manufacturers, the OEMs, have already prepared themselves for electric and hybrid vehicles that they sell. Many vehicle dealerships are already servicing, maintaining these vehicles through OEM-approved processes, trained technicians, diagnostic systems, service plans, and warranty requirements. The wider automotive retail market, however, must also prepare for this changing vehicle park. Workshops are no longer dealing with traditional mechanical systems. Hybrid and electric vehicles brings high voltage components, battery systems, advanced diagnostics, software integration, and stricter safety requirements into the daily working environment. This means technicians need to know how to work safely and confidently. They must be able to identify high voltage risks, isolate systems correctly, use diagnostic equipment, and follow the correct repair procedures. But the impact goes beyond the workshop floor. Service advisors, vehicle sales teams, parts sales staff, and managers also need a basic understanding of hybrid and electric vehicle technology. They are the people who engage customers, book in vehicles, and explain repair processes and help manage the risk. Up to now, training in this area has often been fragmented, especially outside the OEM dealer environment. That is why structured, nationally aligned training is becoming so important for the broader automotive retail aftermarket.
Yeah, and one can see, I guess, how the role is shifting from someone who specializes in the internal combustion engine as purely mechanical to something that understands voltage and electricity and what hybrids now bring to the table. Your CEO, Ipeleng, actually explained last month that the aftermarket supports more than 270,000 jobs and thousands of SMEs. So it's a massive part of the economy. What risks do businesses face if they don't start adapting their skills base now?
Michael, the risk is both commercial and safety related. South Africa's automotive aftermarket supports 270,000 jobs across more than 23,000 employer businesses, many of them small, medium enterprises. These businesses operate across various parts of the automotive aftermarket, including vehicle sales, repair, maintenance, remanufacturing, manufacturing, engineering, and other related services. Electric and hybrid vehicles will, in one way or another, touch all of these areas. If businesses do not start adapting their skills base now, they risk falling behind as vehicles become more hybrid, electric, software driven, and connected. The customers will expect modern vehicles to be serviced and repaired safely, professionally, and correctly. If businesses do not have the right skills, tools, and awareness, they could lose a customer trust and market share. There's also a real safety risk. High voltage systems cannot be treated like normal vehicle systems. They require proper training, correct procedures, and strong safety culture. From the RMI's perspective, preparation cannot wait. The sector must evolve now to protect businesses, protect jobs, and keep employer members relevant in a changing market.
And we know the RMI has been very proactive here. You've positioned skills development at the center of the RMI strategy. Why was it so important for the organization to take such an early leadership role in electromobility training?
Michael, it was important because electromobility is not only vehicle technology shift, it's also a workforce and skills transition. South Africa's policy direction on new energy vehicles makes it clear that the industry must prepare for these technologies while also protecting jobs, competitiveness, and industrial capacity. This aligns with the RMI strategic focus on being a modern, member-centric, agile, sustainable, and future-ready organization. Skills development is therefore not a side activity. It is central to our employer member value, member sustainability, and a business's competitiveness. It is also important because South Africa's skills and qualification system allows people to move forward. A young unemployed learner starting out can enter a pathway, build competence, and progress. An already qualified employee can upskill, specialize, or even move into another technical or non-technical direction. So for the RMI, skills development is not only about responding to vehicle technology, it's about helping employer members build skilled, trained, and talented teams that can compete in a challenging, continuously changing, but also a very rewarding automotive industry market.
And I think, Louis, the RMI needs to be commended for not waiting for the disruption to happen and then acting reactively. I think the institution has been very proactive. And as you've just said, I think RMI is very uniquely positioned in the ecosystem to bring together industry and training institutions and government and all the international partners to ensure that we do deliver the best skills training to make the transition as smooth as possible. And one of the major milestones mentioned is RMI's involvement in the development of South Africa's very first occupational skills programs for EV and hybrid vehicle technicians. So that's exciting. What makes these programs so significant for the industry?
Michael, these programs are significant because they create the first national recognized occupational pathways focused specifically on electromobility in the automotive aftermarket. Ultimately, 3 occupational skills programs are being developed. The first, aimed at workshop assistance, focuses mainly on awareness, safety, and correct support practices around electric and hybrid vehicles. The next 2 are aimed at qualified technicians with a stronger focus on maintenance, diagnostics, and repair processes. This stepped approach is important because it mirrors what we see in Europe and other countries, where high voltage training is not treated as one single intervention. It is built in levels depending on the person's role, prior qualification, and the type of work they are expected to perform. Working with the MASITA and within the QCTO framework, these programs are designed for existing technicians who need to upskill and for new entrants who want to build careers in this changing sector. It's also important to note that the RMI subject matter fraternity is contributing beyond the technical occupations. RMI is also participating in the development of non-technical occupational qualifications, including areas such as vehicle sales, service advisor roles. That matters because the transition affects the whole customer journey, not only the technician working on the vehicle. The value of these programs is that they bring consistency, credibility, and progression. Instead of fragmented, informal training, the industry will have structured programs that define competencies people need while supporting movement across technical and non-technical career pathways.
I think safety, as you've spoken about, is important. And you've spoken about the dangers of fragmented training, particularly around high voltage systems. How important, therefore, is nationally standardized and accredited training when it comes to safety and industry credibility?
Michael, it is absolutely essential. High voltage systems introduce real safety risks if technicians are not properly trained. Informal and inconsistent training can lead to unsafe working practices and uneven standards across the industry. Nationally recognized training helps create a common benchmark for competence, safety, and professionalism. It gives employer greater confidence that their staff have been trained properly. It also gives confidence to consumers, insurers, OEMs, and other industry stakeholders. From the RMI's perspective, standardization is critical. If South Africa wants to build a credible and sustainable electromobility ecosystem, then training must be structured, recognized, and aligned to proper standards.
And that's why I think it's so interesting to see who you're collaborating with internationally. You've got organizations like the German Chamber of Crafts, Erfurt, and GIZ. We know the German automotive industry is the world's global kind of benchmark and standard. What value do these global partnerships bring to South Africa's automotive training ecosystem?
Michael, these partnerships are extremely valuable because they allow South Africa to learn from countries that are already further advanced in electromobility adoption and technician training. The collaboration with the German Chamber of Crafts, Erfurt, for example, brings exposure to internationally tested dual system training approaches. These approaches combine structured learning with practical workplace-based experience. That practical connection is very important. A training must not only look good on paper, it must reflect the real conditions technicians will face in workshops. These partnerships also help South Africa benchmark its training against international practices while still adapting the content to our own local market, to our own employer base, and to our own skills development system.
It's amazing to see how the shift is definitely happening now. I mean, when you start to talk about international partnerships, retooling the workforce, retraining anyone who said it was a pipe dream and that people would just stick with ICE engines because we're petrol heads and we love them, I think is going to get a very rude wake-up call. Looking ahead over the next 5 to 10 years, what does success look like, therefore, for RMI in building a future-fit automotive aftermarket? And how confident are you that South Africa can stay ahead of the curve rather than reacting to it?
Michael, success would mean having a well-established national ecosystem that supports the transition to modern vehicle technologies. That includes accredited training pathways, a properly equipped colleges and training providers, workplace-based learning opportunities, and a workforce that is confident and competent to work on electrified vehicles. It also means that independent workshops and small and medium businesses are not left behind. The future automotive economy should not only be accessible to large vehicle dealerships. Small businesses across the sales, repair, maintenance, remanufacturing, manufacturing, engineering, and other related services must also be able to participate and grow. Success would also mean that people can progress in the system. A learner should be able to enter the industry, gain recognized skills, move upward into higher levels of confidence, or move across into related technical or non-technical roles as the industry changes. There's still a lot of work to do, but the encouraging part is that momentum is building. Industry, government, training institutions, and international partners are working more closely together. The future of the automotive sector will be shaped by how well we prepare our people today. If we get the skills response right, the industry will not only adapt, it will thrive.
Louis, fascinating conversation, I must say, because it may turn out that the future of motoring isn't ultimately determined by the cars that we import, but by the people that we train to keep them moving. And as you say, the momentum is building. That's very encouraging. Thanks so much for sharing those insights with us here on Business Talk. Well, that was Louis van Huyssteen, the National Director at the Retail Motor Industry Organisation, the RMI, representing South Africa's retail automotive aftermarket sector. He's been actively involved in training and skills development for more than 3 decades, and he continues to play a leading role in national skills development and industry transformation initiatives. He's served on the Manufacturing, Engineering and Related Services SETA, the MER SETA, and he's also been reappointed by the Honourable Minister of Higher Education and Training for the next term, which runs till 2030. So if anyone can talk with authority on this industry, it's Louis van Huyssteen. And as we've just heard, the industry is moving forward. It's got international partnerships. It's developing new skills training frameworks. And I think the future is looking much brighter for the aftermarket and automotive industry after hearing those insights from Louis van Huyssteen. Trust you've enjoyed this episode of Business Talk here on Business Tech. Remember to like, subscribe and share, and tune in next time for more insights from those at the cutting edge of business. From me, Michael Avery, take care.